Hey soul family, in this video I'm going to be talking about connecting safely with our passed on loved ones. This is a time of the year when the veil between worlds is very, very thin. And so it's easier to tune in, but there are some things that you need to know to make sure that you are doing it safely and securely and protecting your own energy. And I'm also going to be showing you a real live ghost on video. It's really the only true ghost video I've ever seen because I also want you to know that this stuff is real. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Maura. I am a mystic, psychic, healer, and guide. I tune into the energies and channel information from God, Spirit, Source, the divine to help support you on your journey. Okay, so as someone who's always been very connected to the other side, you need to know that I was born this way. My first near-death experience was when my mom was pregnant with me about 5 or 6 months. She almost miscarried. As a result of that, she was put on bed rest. So I was actually supposed to have been born on Halloween, but instead I was born 3 weeks later. So I'm a super intense Scorpio, and we Scorpios tend to be among the most psychic in the zodiac. So this time of the year is actually my favorite time of the year. So I've always had spiritual gifts and abilities, and actually all of us have our own set of spiritual gifts and abilities. And just like our personalities, they're all a little bit different. And so those spiritual gifts and abilities are all a little bit different. So I'm not per se a medium in the classic sense. For me, when I'm connecting with the other side, I tend to do a lot of it in dream state. So for example, if I pass a cemetery, I might pick up a spiritual entity who was buried in that cemetery. And so then I'll go home to sleep at night. And through dream state, I could be having tea with that, older woman who passed. And she was just lonely and wanted to visit with someone. So since I'm open to that energy, she will manifest within my dream state, and that, kind of this having this foot in both worlds, one in the physical world, one in the spiritual world. Another example for me is when I was a kid, and I started, doing this when I was a kid. I don't even know, I was probably like 8, 9, 10, when my spiritual gifts and abilities really started to activate. And so some examples for how this would show up with me would be I would dream about life and death events, and I would have dreams about the specific event 2 weeks before it happened. So one of the ways this happened for me was my grandmother had a neighbor named Louie, who she really, they had a great time together. They were next door neighbors for a really long time. And Louie had a little dog who was this really cute little dachshund, and they were just inseparable. They adored each other. But when I was a kid, I had this dream that Louie and his little dog both died at the same time, and then they weren't discovered until a few days later. And so then after 2 weeks after I had this dream, then it actually happened in real life. Another example was around the birth of my youngest brother. I dreamt that we just got home from school, and this was before gender reveal parties. This was a while ago. But in my dream, I dreamt we just got home from school. We got a phone call, and my mom was like, guess what? I just had a baby boy. And so then, 2 weeks after I had this dream, then it actually happened in real life. This happened again with my grandmother's funeral. So in dream state, I was raised in an Irish Catholic family, and one of our traditions would be that we had open casket wakes in my Irish grandmother's house in her front room. And I didn't know this was weird until I grew up and started talking to people about it. But so my dad was also the youngest in his family. So we had a handful of family members pass as I was growing up. And so we would always set up an open casket in the front room, and people would come over and bring food and drinks, and we would have a big gathering, and people would hang out around the open casket and tell stories, and everyone would just visit and come together. So I had this dream, and it was all around the day my grandmother died. And so in dream state, I saw an open casket and I saw her body in the casket. And then on the wall above her casket, I saw her picture, but it didn't look like her at all, because if any of you have seen people alive versus dead, when people die, our spirit leaves the body and we look very different dead than we do alive. And that was the picture that was on the wall. But I didn't really understand that in the dream. I just saw this picture on the wall. My grandmother was in the casket, and I dreamt about all the details of the day. I dreamt about the background noises. There were kids outside. There was a ball bouncing, sort of the general feel of the whole event, along with the details of the day itself. So after that happened, and this was about 2 weeks as well, I had this dream, and then 2 weeks later, it actually happened that way. So a lot of us have these spiritual gifts and abilities that are just natural, and we're born with them. So when we're connecting to the other side, it's really important that we do it safely. As we evolve spiritually and as we ascend spiritually, it can be really exciting to realize that we actually have this strong connection to the other side, and we can maybe want to play with it and have some fun with it, especially around, this time of the year, Halloween, Samhain, Day of the Dead. These holidays happen at this time because the veil is very thin. But at this particular time in our history, it's even thinner than it's been before, because we're in between eclipses and we're all ascending and we're all becoming more spiritual. We're expanding in our light bodies and our energetic bodies. And so a lot of people are going to be feeling this on a whole new level. And while it's really great to be curious and explore this, it's also really important to know that you can have some challenges. So as you guys are out there kind of having fun for Halloween, please make sure that you're being safe. So there are dark energies and dark entities that like to scare people, and they will also attach to lower vibrational energies of sadness, fear, anxiety, and depression. And these lower level entities and energies kind of feed off of that to make themselves stronger and to make you feel worse, which is one of the big reasons that I'm posting this video, because as you have this higher level of knowledge and awareness, then you're able to navigate it more effectively. So if you're playing with Ouija boards and spirit boxes and you're feeling sad, you're feeling anxious, you're just not in a good state mentally and emotionally, then you're going to be more likely to attract these lower vibrational energies and entities. And they could attach to you. They could create more fear in you. They could create more sadness in you. They could make you feel really, really bad unless you have some solid protections in place to prevent this from happening. So one of the biggest things that will make you kind of foolproof is being in this energy of happiness and love, because those are very higher vibrational energies that they actually cannot attach onto. And so an example of this for me personally was, many, many years back, as I was diving deep into tarot and learning and understanding that mode. of divination, I had a dream. And so in that dream, I was in a house, and the house symbolizes my own energetic field. And so then outside the house, I saw this very big, looming, dark entity. And logically, you would think I would have been afraid, but I wasn't, because I was, I'm in more of this like spiritually attuned space. And so I intuitively knew that if I just turned up the dial on my own energy, that was all I needed to do to keep this darker energy form at bay. And I like to talk about it like when you look at someone and you smile, and maybe you tilt your head, the edges of your mouth go up, maybe your eyes get bigger. When you feel into how that feels, like, hey, like that energy, it's like you turn up the dial on your energy to a higher vibration. And that higher vibration helps you hold more light that actually dissolves away any of these lower vibrational energies and entities that prevents them from coming through. So you are always able to hold your own energetic field to prevent them from bypassing that. So remember that you can always call on your own team of angels and guides. They're real, they exist. One of my favorite angels of protection is Archangel Michael. He is known as the Great Protector. So at any time, you can call him in to assist you in guarding and protecting you from anything that you're afraid of. So keep that in your back pocket as well. And once you learn to move above these lower vibrational energies, you get to this plane of love, light, magic, and miracles. And that's there existing for all of us. But lots of times we have to move through first this layer of lower vibrational, kind of dark, spooky energy to get to the next level. And so here's this ghost video that I was mentioning earlier. And if you look at this entity, I want you to feel into and see if you can sense how sad she is. And this is what I call an earthbound spirit. And I've named her Vivian. And what I think happened to her is that she is waiting for a loved one to come home, and she just can't let go. So she's sad and she's anxious and doesn't feel like she can pass on to the other side to be in peace and to eternally rest. So here she is, waiting and waiting and waiting. So this video was taken in the wee hours of the morning by two young women who had been out drinking. They had accidentally caught her on video, and they lived in this apartment in Manhattan, New York. They're actually friends of my daughter who sent me this video. And apparently right after this happened, which was just a couple of years ago, the young women showed it to their landlord, who then told them that he had heard reports of this entity from other tenants of the apartment, but the landlord didn't tell these young women. And so, of course, they used the video to get out of their lease and moved out just about the next day. But this is a great example of what can happen when we're not able to process our own feelings of sadness and grief. Our emotions actually create an energetic imprint, and our passed on loved ones don't want us to be living stuck in these cycles of sadness when they leave, because life truly is a gift that we're meant to be living. So when our passed on loved ones die, they actually are still with us. We just can't see them like we could when they were here living in the world with us. Our spirit, our soul is just pure energy. And once energy is created, it exists forever. It doesn't just dissolve away when our body dies. We continue to exist, but we're just in another energetic realm. So the spirit world is very real, and we all have the ability to tune into it. We just want to make sure that we're doing it safely. because sometimes these lower vibrational energies are going to toy with us, they're going to play with us, they're going to freak us out, get our attention, and see if they can actually prevent us from standing in our own spiritual power. So remember that fear is the opposite of love. Where love exists, fear cannot exist in that same space. So in connecting to the other side, here are 5 tips that are going to help. Standing strong in this energy of unconditional love, being centered in your heart space. Number 2, holding compassion for yourself and your loved one who has passed, knowing that compassion is the highest level of love that's available to us. So you're going to want to be in these higher vibrational frequencies. You're also going to want to create your own energetic protection. You're going to want to create a white light, a white bubble of energy around your own field. You're going to want to flush it out of any energies and entities that don't belong to you. That's your energetic protection. It might sound crazy, but it actually works, and it's a really common tool that us, psychics and energy workers use because it's so effective. The other thing that you want to do is you want to run an energetic cord from the bottoms of your feet deep down into the center of the earth, because you want to anchor your energy, your spiritual body to the earth so that you don't float too far out in the spiritual etheric realms. And then number 5 is you can always burn sage to help clear the energies and the emotions from the space. I would do it before you connect in as well as after you connect in to the spiritual realms. So those 5 tips are really going to support you in this process if you would like to connect into the other side. And if you'd like some support in doing this, I'm going to be hosting an online webinar on October 29th called Beyond Goodbye, Connecting with and Honoring Our Past and Loved Ones, delivering it live on Sunday, October 29th at noon Pacific time. And you can also get the replay. So if you'd like to join us and learn how to work with these energies and develop the spiritual gift for yourself, I've got a link to that in the box below. So I hope this was helpful. And until next time, namaste.